Welcome to the Outside the Business Boxes podcast, where we're talking about how to ignite your business today for the future using systems for everything you do in your business to make your life, your employees' lives, and your customers' lives easier for you to ultimately enjoy your business and, of course, make more money. I'm your host, Chad Murray.
Thank you for joining me here at Outside the Business Box. I am Chad Murray, your hostess with the mostest. It is what it is, and dun, 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 I'm back. Where did Chad go? Where did Chad go? Well, Chad got lost in his mind. Chad got fearful. Chad was working his ass off. Chad flat out, I'm not going to say had a nervous breakdown, but Chad got anxieties that got to him, and there were some things outside that happened. I talked about it in my last few episodes, but I was still in it. I'm not in it anymore, so I can kind of talk about it, from the outside in, looking back now. And I've got a great podcast for you guys today because I want to share, not just my experience, but where I'm going, where I want to help you, and what it takes to really own a service company and to make sure you have some things in place, that, you get the work-life balances of running what I would call the hardest goddamn business in the world, owning a service business. And you really think about it. First of all, congratulations. You've made it to where you're listening to my podcast and you're growing, scaling, thinking of scaling. You own a business and you're in business for yourself. You are the man or woman. And by God, you need to sometimes look back and go, I'm doing it and I'm doing well, even when you're not. If you can pay your bills for the year off of your own fruits and labors and passions and whatever else you're doing, then, man, that's the American dream. You're not answering to anyone but a customer. And that is powerful that you've done that step to get there. So now you've ventured on and you've gone out into the world and you start scaling, and we'll talk about, the this and that's of, how I got to where I am. But being a solopreneur or one or two trucks, easy company. It's not that hard to run, but you always have that feeling of, I need to be a little bigger. And there's some truth to that. And there's also some false narratives to that as well. And I'm going to go over that today. And so first, let's go back to my journey. So everybody knows I started a service business, in Dallas, Texas. It's a chimney company. It is scaled to, I think currently we have like 57 employees. I know as of today, November 21st, I think we have like 20 trucks, like full on running, maybe 22. I didn't even count them. I know there's a lot of them. And right now we're profitable. I mean, it didn't feel like we have been, but we are. And we actually had our best production week ever. We broke a record last week. So we did $130, I believe, $2,000 in production last week. The guys are selling better than ever. It didn't feel like that to me. It feels wonky the way things are right now. But we are hitting and breaking records and things keep going. But my mind, as we'll get to now, didn't feel that. I was getting to an irrational place. And how did I get there? So let's talk about it. So I've done podcasts on anxiety. As a matter of fact, one of my earlier first anxiety podcasts was a very big hit. I'll take a drink of coffee. Good morning, everybody. And why was it a big hit? Because everybody feels it. You have anxieties because you have no one to answer to but yourself, and your employees are all looking up to you. Your wife is, your husband, whoever your spouse is, if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, looking up to you. Where are we going? What are we doing? How are we doing? Where, all this, okay? I, a long time ago, never worried about that anymore because I could always produce and did well. Still doing well, but it didn't feel like that as we were scaling. This year ended up being one of those growth years. A growth year is a very hard year. I'm going to actually, believe it or not, run over $4 million and have a loss this year. Yes. Learning the masonry business, buying a property that you have to do a lot of upkeep to, kicked my financial tootie butt. And so that was happening. Then all of a sudden, my wife gets COVID the last week of August, which coincides with exactly the 1-year anniversary of when I had COVID and spent almost all of September in the hospital and nearly died. Okay. And then spent months in recovery. Okay. So here we are. My cash flow just got purposely on my own accord, like went down $400,000 cash flow down the drain. Because I bought this property and was putting the upkeep we needed to get it operational for us. Then my wife gets COVID, and who has to take care of her? Me. The one person who has no fears except for COVID. I'm not afraid to die. I am afraid to go back to the hospital. I do not want to go back in the terms that I had last time. It was no fun. I couldn't breathe, even though I could. My wife was visiting me every day. It was tough on her. You were worried because I had a friend that one of my best friends died the year before that. I watched him die, and it's sudden. It doesn't. You're sitting in the hospital and you suddenly die. You stroke out. And that's what was happening to everybody in 2020 and 21. And then I go in the hospital. So I'm like literally in bed breathing, and I went up to the big oxygen thing and had this big wand on. It's called the air wand, where it's like sticking your head out the window at 60 miles an hour. That's what was going down into my lungs to keep me alive. So yes, I had anxiety about having to take care of my wife. I had anxieties about spending $400,000 cash on a new property, which is absolutely the best thing we should have done. Yet it still doesn't feel like that. Okay, so yeah, that's happening. So then I essentially had 2 employees of mine, and I won't mention their names, that I were doing really good. One of them was scamming us constantly behind my back, not knowing about it, not doing side jobs that I know of, but was just literally milking the company, borrowing money from everybody, great salesman, and then he just shit all over us and quit. And the other guy quit in September. My 2 most tenured salesmen that I was so excited to go into the second year with them to do that. By the way, it has nothing to do with Cody. Cody was awesome. Still is awesome. So anyway, these 2 guys were our good salesmen. So yeah, so that hurt. We had September, all of a sudden the 2 guys that we relied on the most quit. But here's the thing here's the results of what we did do that was good, which helped us out, was for the first time in 26 years of being a chimney company, we were staffed come September, which hurt us. But we were staffed, and the people were trained essentially to run the business. And guess what? When those guys quit, we had about a 2-week hurt of sales, and then everybody picked up and start going. So like the whole company had like a oh shit moment, right? And then Cody and everybody got on board, and everybody started doing their part. I mean, and we just broke a record for operations last week, and we're selling anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 a week in sales. Awesome, right? Great. That's now. Okay, let's go back to September. All right, so 2 guys quit. I just got done taking care of my wife with COVID, and I get presented to start a marketing service with my daughter. I had to go run it by Hosio at Steve to see if it's okay, and And of course, he's like the awesomest guy in the world. He's like, yeah, I mean, you already coach chimney companies. What's the difference? You become a marketing company. You'll help me out with what you learned from marketing. Well, I have done my marketing and my SEO almost exclusively by myself, hired and fired SEO companies through the years, but I've almost done it completely myself. And then Steve Hosio for the last 2 years has taken it over for me. But one of the reasons I helped him and grow his business so successfully after being stuck for a while for 5 or 6 years was because I do know SEO. I do know GMB. I do know all this stuff. And I may not know the ins and outs of exactly what to do, but I think I'm pretty good at running a business. And so I applied the how to run a business to them, and they skyrocketed up. I mean, we're talking 4x their business. And so long story short is I asked him if it was a conflict of interest, and he said, no, I'd love to help you do it. And he's actually helping me. So we're growing our marketing side. So before I get into why I started a marketing company, so what was happening in September? Let's go back to that. Let me recap. I just got done taking care of COVID. My mind was spiraling. 2 guys quit. Now I get talked into a necessary thing that is awesome for my growth. And where I'm going with my company is I start a marketing company with my daughter. So what am I doing before I start a company? I'm no dummy. And I'm a very big research guy. Apps, systems, processes is why most people hire me to coach them. Well, I can't just go start a marketing company. I got to know what the hell I'm going to do. What are we offering? Who's going to do the work? Are we hiring employees? What exactly do we need to do? Because I'm not up to date on SEO, GMB, Google profile, AdWords. I'm not completely, I know how to coach it, and I know how to like the overall how to do it, but I can't pinpoint exactly what to do. So what do I do in September? I go and I don't leave my office. I'm inundated in working in research. So at the same time, I'm having anxieties about masters. I have, which is my service company, if you didn't know. The anxiety started with the COVID PTSD. Wasn't sleeping. Wasn't getting any physical activity. All this is happening to me. And I'm now researching how to start a marketing company. And the guys quit. So that's time. So let me add one more thing. So when the guys quit, we had to put Cody back out on the field, which, by the way, he's doing freaking phenomenal. My sales manager, Cody. And what happens? I decided I'm going to help hire as well. So I take out the ads. I start hiring to replace those 2 guys. Now, we had a bunch of guys already out in the field trained that Cody had spent all summer training, which was awesome. We picked up the slack after a couple weeks of shock. We kind of went through that a little bit. Cody went out there and really started picking up the slack. And then I hired some guys. So here I was marketing so much. I mean, just this September, it was just this ball of just I'm on. And I was effective with hiring. I got a couple great guys hired. I was effective in learning what I could do. But you know what happened? The equation that I'll share with you here in a little bit, well, I'll share with you now, that I learned from being in Surefire Accelerator. Surefire put together by the owners of Surefire. It's a mixed group that we're in that I honestly was hesitant to join it because I'm a business coach. Tell them I'm going in a chimney accelerator group. I should be running one, which I have unsuccessfully. Sorry. I got into it, and I actually kind of got into it with kind of a quiet skepticism. And unbeknownst to me or to Mark Stoner, he brought on a guy that deals with stress. He's a business coach that deals with stress last Monday. Now, I had already gotten over my stuff, and I'll tell you what I did here in a little bit. But he brought on this guy, and he had some slides, and I'm going to steal them. I need to call this guy. He's a super awesome guy. I would predict him. He's probably in his early 40s, maybe late 30s. Great. Whoever trained him, on how to stress management. It was phenomenal. So he had something that I took away from it, and it is stress plus recovery equals growth. So to give the guy a little kudos, if you didn't know, the guy's name is Drew. God, where did my paper go? I lost it. Darn it. The guy's name was Drew, and I have to find the piece of paper that has his information on it. But if you want to message me, I can get it over to you if you want to learn more about stress and how to handle it and all that kind of stuff. This guy is phenomenal. Okay, so going back. Oh, no, here it is. It's over here. And I'm going to pause. Okay, the paper fell on the floor, so I'm sorry, everybody. And I don't edit. I just go live and I talk, and I'm not going to edit that little part out. The guy's name is Drew McClure. I don't know the guy from Adam. I spent an hour and a half with him during the thing, just listening to him. And he's got a podcast called 0 to 5,000. And he deals with stress. And I have not listened to his podcast yet, but by watching his work for an hour and a half as me being a participant, I am going to get to know this guy. So if anything else, you want to go to look at another podcast, 0 to 5,000. I recommend it without knowing about it yet, but it came from Stoner. So I'm, does anything ever come bad from Stoner? Mark Stoner. So anyway, okay. So here I am. I've already kind of gotten over it. Then this happens. And then, so what, and I had some other things happen that nothing big. That's just relevant to the story. It's just, without giving you a laundry list of what was happening to me in September and early October, it just was what it was. So I'm spiraling into can't sleep, anxiety. I'm going bankrupt. These are my thoughts. Going bankrupt. I'm going to need to do this. I'm going to need to do that. I can't get up. I'm driving my wife insane. I went to the doctor, got more sleeping pills, which those did work, but you're also groggy the next day. And I try to be, I'm a guy that doesn't like to take anything but ibuprofen, and I don't even like to take that much. I like to be pretty holistic with what I put in my body, except for food. I'm a total fatty. But anyway, so yeah, I'm at this point where the equation is not working for me because I'm not working the equation. And I always work the equation. Everybody knows I have a cabin. I love going to it. I actually do fairly well with blocking out work when I'm there most of the time. Yet 3 weeks ago, I went there right before I hit my breakthrough, and I had to come home early. And that sparked up something in me. So what did I do? I said, okay, what do I do when I do it at work? What do I do when something's wrong? What am I good at? Well, I'm good at researching and fixing stuff. Always have been. Okay. So what did I do? I started researching panic attacks. I started researching anxiety. Now, it's easy to say that, but you got to absorb, the strategies to make this stuff stop working on you. So I got a double book on Audible. It's called close. It's called Panic Attacks and Stress Management. It's done by Sarah Harrogate and Sarah Wright. It's about a 7-hour book. And you start off with the panic attacks, and you go into stress management. And let me tell you, I got to tell you guys, I've only gotten into 40, maybe 35 minutes of the book. And it took me out of my spiral. It literally took me out of my spiral. I can't wait to finish another 7 hours of this book because it literally, they just came right at me and they gave me some. So let me tell you what stress is, and let me tell you how I got out of it, so that I can keep going and kind of get to some more things. But it's stress. What is stress? Stress is a body and mind reaction. What you may not know is your body actually starts showing the sign of stress before your mind does. This is why a lot of people have panic attacks and anxiety, and they actually have a panic attack when nothing's wrong. They're not thinking of anything. The body starts. The body just all of a sudden goes into a panic attack, and you're like, what the hell? You weren't even thinking of what was giving you stress or anxieties, maybe a day or a week ago or even an hour ago. You're like over it, you're doing something else, and all of a sudden your body just reacts. So the book talks about, well, if you can stop the body and train the mind, you can stop your panic attacks and your anxieties. And so I'm like, okay. And I've heard this from other people, but I never put it in practice until I heard this exactly the way to do it. And so what happens when you have a panic attack or you're having anxieties? Your chest starts tightening up, right? You start feeling like you're going to have a heart attack. And then your mind starts going nuts. And then you're trying to stop it. You're doing all this stuff, but you have no training how to stop it. I'll tell you how to stop it right now. And I'm telling you, it's 100% worth it. I even had to do it this morning. I woke up at 4 o'clock. Didn't have much of anxiety, but I could feel it starting. So I did this. And it's literally resets the body. You breathe in from your nose in your diaphragm. So you don't breathe in your lungs. Of course, you breathe in your lungs, but you breathe in through your stomach. Use your diaphragm. So you literally you're pushing your stomach in. You're doing it from your stomach, not from your chest, for 5 seconds. And you breathe out for 7 seconds. I have been able to stop every panic attack and every anxiety-ridden moment I've had since I learned this And I've only had to do a set of those. Maybe, I think the worst one I had to do, I did that breathing exercise only 4 times, and it was gone. Gone. Now, I got to talk about stress a little bit here. Stress and anxieties aren't all bad. This is why the equation of growth is stress is it. You need stress. You need to stress yourself out. You need to do stuff to grow, but you got to be able to curb it and stop it and recognize some stress is absolutely essential. If something's going wrong and you start stressing out about it, sometimes you don't see it, but you have this feeling, what the hell's wrong? And you got to research what it is. Like, what is going on that I'm not seeing? And then you fix it. So the stress is not all bad. So I'm talking about when the stress turns to anxiety. That's when you got to do this. So, okay. So I started doing this breathing thing, and I am not kidding. It has literally flipped me back on to a badass, complete go, positive guy like I've always been, kick ass, take names. Okay. So that's how I pretty much live my life. Try to listen a lot more. I've been doing that for a couple of years now, trying to listen more, be more effective. Okay, so what if this Drew McClure came up with that equation? He says stress plus recovery equals growth. So let's talk about that right there. So we'll move on. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, especially mostly service business owners, right? That do not spend enough time with their own hobbies. Everyone talks about not spending time with their family. Well, guess what? Family is only a part of the recovery equation. You must have friends. You must have something outside of just your family. And what I see a lot of business owners do is they only deal with family and they only deal with work. And they have no life outside of that. Like, they don't play golf, they don't fish. I don't fish, but they don't hunt, they don't whittle. I don't care what. They don't have something outside of those two things that are going to reset the mind and the body. And that recovery part of that equation, stress plus recovery equals growth, is what I spiraled into not doing. I was just literally working 90 hours. If I was awake, I was in my office pretty much all of September and October. And I recognized it doesn't matter how, I already told you how I got out of it. So, yes. So if you spiral into these stuff, it starts getting to be unnecessary, unrealistic fears. And so what I have found, a common thread with anxieties and panic attack is A lot of people are scared of the dark. They weren't before. When they start having anxieties, they get scared of the dark. I've talked to probably 5 or 6 people in the last month that I know have anxieties, and I asked them about this, and every one of them and I didn't tell them my story, which I'll tell you in a second, of what was going on when they were having their anxieties and they couldn't sleep. And it all came down to they were scared of the dark, got up, run around the bedroom, run around the house. They're panic attacking, and they do it roughly at around 4 o'clock in the morning. I was doing that every day in September and October, almost every day. If I took a sleeping pill, I didn't. And I was on them a lot, but I was also trying to wean myself. I was trying to correct things, and I wasn't really ready yet. But it's funny. That is part of it. So if you're recognizing yourself is that you're having a hard time sleeping and you're waking up and doing this, you're not treating your stress. And the first thing is you can start breathing. The second thing is you need to start doing stuff outside of your, but you have to learn to turn it off, the business. You have to take what's stressing you out and be able to turn it off. Hard to do because we live, family is what we live for, but our business is our baby, right? Really, we love our families, and I'm not saying this, if you own a business, you know what I'm saying. The business is your baby. And you worry about the business more than you even worry about your family. And you need to learn to turn it off. You need your mind to recover. You need that to happen. Okay. So I hope that's helpful for you. So now let's talk about the hardest business in the world to run. You're doing it. You're running the hardest business that could ever be run right now, a service business. It is such a grind to own a service business that requires employees and requires essentially a non-repetitive service. If you are in a repetitive service business, kudos to you. Most service businesses are not a repetitive subscription style type business. My coaching business, repetitive business. My marketing business, not competitive. Well, they are competitive, but the coaching business and the marketing are both subscription-based models. My churn, which would be people quitting and getting more clients to replace them or growing, is non-existent. I don't lose very many clients, and I don't go get a lot more clients, which with the marketing business we're starting to do. But I have this stability. The service businesses, blue collar work of the chimney sweep, the window washing, the stuff like that, the HVAC, plumbing, all that. You're essentially working off of fighting the advertising model to get new clients all the time. Such rough. It's not a maid service, which is a hybrid, a little bit stressful, and window washing could be, if you're doing it right, a repetitive business. Most of the guys don't. But with that service business model of getting it to where you're a subscription basis, how you will build a much stabler business. And it's hard. It's hard to do that. Running a business that's going to continually scale and grow. And when you bust through the $2 million mark, it's tough. It's rough because now you're relying on more people, and the churn rate for employees, it starts to be big until you start figuring out how to be a better boss. Because let's face it, most people are not born to be a good leader in running a service business, because your whole focus is on how to make more money and how to get more clients. That's all your focus is until you start hitting the $2 million mark. And then it's like, okay, now I got to start being a good leader. Now, if you're listening to this and you're a solopreneur and you're already either working with me or just you're already getting the leadership stuff down, kudos to you, because it will far exceed anything more than you can do if you just become a better leader in your business. Even if you just go to one employee, you get one employee and you can be a great leader to that person and start offering hope, start offering a future as you're building, and they see it with you and they come with you. And if you can get them to grow with you. So here's a tip. if you are a small business and you're trying to scale, the tip I would advise you to whoever and whom you hire, they must know the vision of where you're going, and that they must, in the interview, you must find someone that is capable of changing and adapting with you as you grow. Because most businesses that get to the 1 million mark, I coach a lot of the guys that are getting to the 1 million, have surpassed the 1 million, even up to 2 million. And guess what? The people that got them there are not people that can change. And I actually saw this, and I don't remember where I heard this from. It was recently. There are people that thrive on getting a business to the 1 million, $2 million mark. And they're not motivated by going through your changes to do that. They are just good at getting businesses with their own type of rules to help you get there. But then they're not good at adapting to you where you want to go, where your company needs to be, because they're the type of people that are what we call shooting stars. Shooting stars are fast, good, but not able to grow with you. And they're necessary. They're a necessary people to grow because they really can skyrocket and you can learn from them, but they're not the stability of they want to work with you for 20 years, but they only have a 2 to 3 year lifespan, maybe only a 1. But they did really well for you. Well, those people are necessary. We don't like them. We want everyone to grow. We want everyone as entrepreneurs, business owners to be able to grow with us and be with us and, and thrive. But some people, they live in the chaos and you're not going to be able to train them out of that. They like it. Even though they might tell you they don't, they actually thrive in it. And when you get someone that thrives in it, that kind of is playing by your main rules, but kind of goes outside of the rules and does real well, you love this person, they're doing great. All of a sudden, you get up to the $1.5 million mark, and now this guy becomes a prima donna. And all of a sudden, you're starting to implement systems, and they're not doing it. And say, I need you to do this because we're growing. And they just can't, and they won't. Well, that's when you have to learn to let go, and you have to recognize that fast so that you're not stuck on this hamster wheel of this guy. You owe this person something, which you've heard in my other podcast. You owe nobody nothing. You give them a paycheck. You do not owe your employees a dime. And guess what? I'm not a dime. You don't owe them anything in the future except for if they can mold with you and they keep giving them a hope and upgrades in pay and stuff. But if they can't get on your program, they got to go. And the faster you recognize that and get people replaced that are better than the people that got you where you are as you're moving, the people that can't, I'm only talking about people that can't. There are people that will adapt, and will come with you. But there are people that don't. So you got to recognize when to get rid of these people. Because you will be in that conundrum in your head, and you think you owe them something, and you don't. You paid them. You owe them nothing. Then you also think you can't replace them because you'll find nobody better, and that's bullshit too. You will find someone better. You just got to know how to do it. You got to know what you're looking for, right? You're not looking for the guy to replace them that is that guy. You're looking for someone stable. You're upping your game. You're going to spend more money to find someone to replace them because you want someone who has done it before or can do it or can adapt. You might get someone that's not as good, but if they can adapt, they'll mold into it. And so there's so many different ways to go at this conversation, but the fact of the matter is recognizing that these people can't go with you and to get rid of them is a skill you have to learn. Okay, so hardest business in the world. You're running a service business. It's tough. It's tough. And again, I applaud you. You're doing it. And moving on to bigger and better things, let's talk about growth year. My growth year. So I kind of mentioned it already. So here I had a growth year, all this money spent. We're doing great. My mental capacity's back. And so I'm not in one flew over the cuckoo's nest right now anymore. Although I feel like I've always kind of lived in that, where I could leave and come back into that asylum. But seriously, growth years are tough. And then we talk about recessions, this, that, the other. Well, yeah, doesn't seem to be business as usual right now to some of you. Some of you think it is. I can tell you it's easier to run a small company than it is to run a big company like me. But I can tell you right now, it is not easy. And chickens will come to roost with people if you don't learn to adapt to get profitable and restructure next year, I'm assuming. We are certainly going to be doing things differently at Masters. We're going to get our revenue up and our profits up. We're going to get our profits up and possibly scale down a little bit to try to figure this out in key positions, key points, and we're coming up with a plan to do it. And I really do think that our goal is to be even, Steven, or profitable only in 2023. And I think my employees are going to be excited about it. We're going to be excited about it. And I'll share as we go what we're doing when we do it and how we did it and our updates. So it's going to be fun to break through the $5 million mark, which is our goal next year. And it's going to be exciting to share that with you guys, and I am. So, guys, I wanted to thank you for my hiatus and allowing me to come back, and hopefully this will be a good listenership on this one. And I will be doing my podcast every week from now on. This, I promise. I am back. And thank you for listening. I want to give you another. You're running the hardest business in the world. Know that. Be thankful for that. And know that you're not alone. I'll be here for you for that. Have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving. And God bless.